I had to read 2 training articles and explain what I learned about them. In this video, I will tell you what I learned from reading the 2 training articles. The first article that I read was The Lost Art of the Push-Up, Its Many Variations and Functions by Megan McCalloway. I chose to read this article because I do push-ups every day when I get up in the morning, and if I'm not doing them right, then why am I doing them at all? I learned quite a lot about why people may have problems when performing a push-up and how to fix those problems. I also got to familiarize myself with the different types of push-ups. Firstly, I learned what the perfect push-up looks like. Quote, 1. The entire body is in a straight line from head to heels and remains that way for the entire set. There is no rotation occurring in the pelvis or thorax or collapsing in the neck, lower back, or hips. The shoulders are packed, so the shoulder blades are drawn together and down and should never collapse or cave in. 2. The body should travel in a vertical plane the entire time. At the top of the push-up, the shoulders, elbows, and wrists should be in line. At the bottom position of the push-up, the elbows should remain over the wrists. 3. During the lowering portion of the push-up, the elbows should not flare out. At the bottom of the push-up, the elbows should be bent at 90 degrees. Although going to greater depth is good if proper form can be maintained and if the body feels good. End quote. This is an excellent description on what the perfect push-up should look like. The next thing that I learned is that most people can't perform a push-up not because they are weak, but because they lack the proper pelvic and spinal stability. Then I learned some exercises that can help fix the pelvic and spinal stability needed to perform the proper push-up. If you have core weakness, then performing dead bugs and banded resisted rollouts will help increase core stability needed to perform the perfect push-up. If you have weak hip accessors, then performing single leg glute bridges and weighted glute bridges or hip thrusts will increase glute strength needed to perform the perfect push-up. An interesting point that I found when reading the article was when you're setting up for your push-up, squeeze your glutes together. I thought this was very interesting because I've never thought of doing this before. The last thing I learned from this article was that hand elevated push-ups are more effective at increasing your strength to perform the perfect push-up rather than knee push-ups. This is because you can lower yourself down with different box heights, and you can also transition right into a push-up on the floor. The last thing I want to touch on from this article is the variety of different push-ups that you can do after you've mastered the push-up. You can do tricep push-ups, diamond push-ups, feet elevated push-ups, weighted push-ups, explosive push-ups, and single arm push-ups. You can also do clap push-ups. That one wasn't mentioned in the article. These are great types of push-ups that you can do after perfecting the push-up. The second article that I decided to take a look at was the Landmine article. The title of this article was called The 5 Best Landmine Exercises That You Aren't Doing by Dr. John Rusin. The first thing that the article said was that the landmine is the most underutilized setup in strength. And I agree with that. The landmine is very underutilized. The first thing I learned about was the landmine trap bar row. It's a rowing movement, but with a trap bar. A trap bar is not usually thought to be used in a rowing movement. Well, at least until I read this article. By doing the landmine trap bar row, it's supposed to increase comfort when rowing. It does this by having your hands spread wider, as well as not having the bar in between your legs. Compared to the regular landmine row, you have a more natural stance and a more natural grip to the bar, and this will increase your range of motion. I'm definitely using this on the next pull day. The second and final thing that I learned from the article is another way to hold the landmine row. Originally, I thought you could only have it in between your legs or have it like you're rowing a boat. But I learned that you can have it as if you were going to do a dumbbell row. This is actually the last thing I learned from this article. I learned that unlike doing a dumbbell row, where you're supported by a bench, by doing a single arm landmine row, you have more activation of the muscles in your trunk of your body. This limits the amount of weight you can do, or else you're going to fall over. It was also a suggestion by Lee Boyce, so I know it's a good exercise. To recap, this is what I learned from reading those 2 articles. I learned what a perfect push-up looks like, why some people can't do a perfect push-up, and how to fix it. In addition to that, I also learned why a hand-elevated push-up is better than a knee push-up. Finally, I learned a new landmine exercise and a new way to perform an old landmine exercise. That's it for this video. We'll see you in the next one. See ya.